Hey.
Let me see. Let's give people a chance to get in. All right, all right. We are live. All right.
Can y'all see me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can. Hey.
we can.
Hey.
Hey.
So I am Marian. I'm here with my friends. They'll introduce themselves in a second, but I am a single mom of one 12-year-old. I am a project manager and aspiring entrepreneur, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you guys today. Um, who wants to go next?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Hey, Toya.
Hello, my name is Latoya. I am a single mom of a 26-year-old, and I am here to dive into this wonderful topic of dating.
I'm Ebony. I am a mother of two, single mother of two, a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old. By day, I'm an educator. And alongside Marian, I'm an entrepreneur as well. So I'm excited to dive into this topic. Can you all hear me good?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recovering. I was not feeling well, but I'm doing a bit better now. So just making sure. All right. Okay, Marian, take it away. Let's dive in.
All right, so today we're here to talk to you guys about single motherhood and dating. Um, what are our journeys? What the lessons that we've learned, advice that we have. So I'm just gonna start off with some questions. Um, First question is: so, what lessons have you learned in dating over these years as a mom?
Go on, Ebony.
Now this whole show is not going to be going.
What was it?
Okay, I'll go first. So I guess because I have the oldest child, I will say one thing that I've always took to heart was you cannot let everyone meet your child. Um, because everyone is not there to stay. And so I've always been very particular about who to let into her life, who to allow to meet her. And so that's one thing that that's like one of the main things that I've always done is like, who's going to meet my child? And, because you're concerned, you're bringing them in. And when they leave, they leave that child's life too. And I think a lot of times moms don't realize that. And the impact that it has on the children when they're going through that transition. So I've always been very big on that. So no, she does not know everyone that her mother has dated.
That's good. I would agree. Which lesson? Because listen, I have learned so many of them. Which one you want? Lesson 1, 2, 3, 4. which which
Give us a
one?
top
Which one you
three.
want? Okay, top 3. So, oh, that's hard. I think one is you have to know when it's time for you to date as a single mom. It's not always time. Um, I know that, as women, we desire or seek, not even women, people, all humans, in my opinion, seek companionship and want companionship. It's normal. We want to be loved and we want to show love to others. We want that reciprocated. But I believe that as I think about my journey through single motherhood in the process, and even like navigating dating, it wasn't always a time for me to date, right? And like during the time when it wasn't time for me to date, I had to focus on me because I noticed a pattern with who I was dating, and it wasn't a good pattern. And so a lot of times we blame the men, we blame the kids' fathers and things like that, but we have to like look within and it takes time to look within. So that's one of my biggest lessons is there's a season and time for everything. It's not to say that you won't date or you won't ever be married, but you have to know when it's your time to date. That's number one. Number two, um, I think, oh, so like knowing what you want, like really knowing what you want as you're navigating the dating process. And not just like, we all got these little lists and whatnot. But I think you really have to know what you want. And I'll weave in three with that, Marian. So the third one was therapy, 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 therapy. Um, Therapy helped me to unpack a lot. And I went into therapy and I told her, I said, I don't want to date. I'm not ready to date. I don't want to date. And she was like, okay, we're going to get you there. I was like, I'm scared to date. And it helped me reflect on what I wanted, right? And like knowing that I was worthy of what I wanted and being able to identify what I wanted. But in order for me to identify what I wanted, it started with me and my core values and like what did I desire in that other person. So those are my three.
Okay, okay. I
Mhm.
have to concur with both of you guys with all four of those lessons that were just listed. My biggest thing, well, I shouldn't say biggest, but one that's sticking out to me right now is that it's okay to date. Um, I I dealt with I'm one of those cliche church girls, goody goody that ended up opposite of how everybody thought that she was going to. And so I dealt with a lot of shame when I became a mom, a single mom. And so, can y'all see me? Okay.
You froze a little bit, but we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Is it better now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, I dealt with a lot of shame, but I was able to overcome that and know that it was okay. Like in my head, and I actually had people telling me or insinuating to me that I shouldn't date until my son was grown. I need to concentrate only on my child and not myself or anything that I wanted. And I tell you right now that that is incorrect. Because if you can, meet somebody and get married, that is the best thing because, raising kids is a two-person thing and you need that balance between man and woman. Um, but on the flip side of it, it should not also because I feel like another thing is with single moms, like they always want this topic to be the only topic or the biggest topic in your life. We gotta find you somebody. Let's talk about dating. Let's talk about relationships. It's just like there is a lot more to single motherhood than dating. So you gotta have that balance where it's not the most important thing in your life to where you are neglecting your kids. I haven't experienced, but I've seen it with my own eyes where single moms neglect their kids trying to find love. But at the same time, you shouldn't deny yourself companionship. So,
And I think, Mary, you raise another good point. Here I go. I'm gonna get back on track, I promise.
no, go ahead.
But another lesson, and my mentor and coach, Tramika, um, talked to me about this one time in one of our sessions was when you talked about I forgot what you just said, but it triggered my brain to think about this. Walk in your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Walk in your purpose. Because I firmly believe the person that your partner, and I know we all say so like your kingdom partner or your partner who you are put on this earth to like reach another level with will align, in my opinion, to your purpose. And when I say align to your purpose, I don't mean that just because I'm an educator, he's going to be an educator, right? But I think the purpose is they complement one another, and the two of you all should be a force together, should be a movement together, and a purpose partner. That's one thing in the past I really didn't like consider. Which I should, and I'm being completely honest. Like, how does this individual complement my purpose? And with me knowing what my purpose is, does this individual align to that? So that's another lesson learned.
I agree. I agree. I agree. That's the thing. It's not just finding someone, but finding the right person for you and your children. So I
Mhm.
agree. Let's see what's next. Ooh, wrong screen. So, what tools or practices has helped you to prepare for dating and relationships? So I'm gonna call on Ebony this time because you kind of already touched on it.
Okay. Probably therapy. Therapy was one.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy was a huge one. Shout out to my therapist. I will give you all her contact information. Shout out to Love. Many people may have heard of her. Love McPherson. She got me all the way together. I think she's doing like a dating thing right now too. So check it out. She did not tell me to advertise that, but I am a walking, living testimony that she is the truth. But therapy definitely helped me. I think another thing was and it's still an ongoing process of reading the word because I am a Christian. So reading the word about like marriage and the purpose of it and things of that sort, and encouraging, like sometimes, as a single mom, depending on how long you've been single, you doubt, like, is marriage even for me? Maybe I'm just gonna be the rich auntie, right? Like I've had that thought cross my mind. But like, if it is a desire of your heart, God will grant you that desire in his timing. um when you seek him, he will give you all the desires of your heart, right? Like we always talk about aligning our will and our way to God. And I realized I have lately, I would say within the past year, I'm weeding out easily people who approach me who are not aligned because I have gotten closer aligned to God in a process, and those who are not aligned are weeding themselves out, which is powerful. It's really powerful to see it happening firsthand in my life. I think the other thing is tool my married friends. I think you should have some married friends that are safe spaces in your circle and around you. I'm not saying you put people's marriages on pedestals, but there should be some healthy relationships around you. I think that is very significant. Whether it be your parents, whether it be, a close friend, a brother, someone that is a safe space and that is successfully navigating marriage. And I know no marriage is perfect, but I think that having that mentorship or that role model is definitely important as well. I always ask some of my married friends advice and questions just from their perspective, because I think it's a good perspective to have. Another thing is reading. I love reading. I love listening to podcasts. I love hearing other people's perspectives about things. Reading is therapeutic for me and has definitely helped me navigate these dating streets. So that's what I got.
Go ahead, Toya.
Toya!
I know I'm over here trying to not cough. Um, Repeat the question for me again, Marian.
So, what tools or practices have helped you to prepare for dating and relationships?
Um, Tools. Well, I have my grandparents. Both of my sets of my grandparents were married for a very long time, and they were godly grandparents. So, I actually mimic, and I also, hear them talk and explain about marriage and the biblical principles of it, but also how they never gave up. That you fight through, the struggles and different things. And I don't know, I do a lot of reading as well. So I read a lot of different books on relationships, love languages, even how to prepare to wait for your husband or your mate in the process. And I think I apply them to my life. One of the things that I think is very important is keeping yourself busy and don't let it consume your life. Because I think when it consumes your life, you sometimes, I don't want to say you're desperate, but sometimes you get linked up with the wrong person
Mm-hmm.
because you do get lonely as you're waiting. So, I think it comes with patience and I mean, I think that's, probably the most biblical, or the more things that I think about, just the biblical principles. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just a ring and a marriage, but marriage is work. And even in singleness, I mean, mom is work. So, and sometimes I used to be like, my daughter plays sports and she was in dance, and I was like, I don't know how I could cook a meal for a man and have a husband, and trying to manage motherhood, and but our ancestors and our older, our grandparents and stuff did it, and they made it look so easy. So I, in my time of waiting, was like, how do you navigate that? And like Ebony said, get some married friends, people that you can piggyback off of, and take a self inventory of yourself and really be honest with yourself. Are you ready?
Mhm.
Are you really ready to be dating and bringing that into your life on top of parenting? And, if you have more than one child, how does that fit in? How does this person, if he is coming into, the relationship, how is he going to align with your children? Is he the person that you want to, be the covering? Because he going to cover you and the children. Does he have the qualities to be the covering over the potential to be a leader? Can you trust him to manage everything? So those are like tools that I think I utilize, or, look for when I'm dating or single and thinking and mingling or whatever the case is.
You raise a good point, Toya. Like a really good point. When you talked about children, because I think I'm the only one on the call that has multiple children. So with me having two and them being somewhat younger, 4 and 11, there's a resource or tool that I look at often, and it's about blending families,
Mm-hmm.
because that is it's very important to me. Um, and it's real, right? Like I know my spouse, I'm gonna have to. It's going to be a blended family, whether or not he has children or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that came to mind as you were talking, Toya, is thinking about, like, when I think of tools and resources, like, and how you say marriages work, like there's finances that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's like you talked about cleaning, you talked about meal prep. So like I think right now, like if someone were to enter my life right now, like what have I done to prepare for that? For example, like that balancing that person entering in. Because you have to have room, in a sense. I don't know, I don't want to say it like that, but room for that person. If you're saying you desire that, you have to have room for it.
Mm-hmm.
Me right now, I don't clean my house every weekend. I've hired a cleaning person at this point, right? Like that's one less thing I'm doing. Finances, I'm working on, what my budget look like. But you raise a very good point, because I think a lot of women want the marriage, but not the work before the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
not the preparation that goes into um, being married. And to be quite honest, I think sometimes that's why some marriages have challenges. That's why some marriages may end unexpectedly. Once again, let me say this. I know all marriages have their challenges and triumphs, but I think doing the work on the front end, especially as single moms, is very important. Thank you, Toya. You raised some good points.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I agree with you guys. You guys are kind of saying we're all of the same thought. Instead of books, I do like to read, but I don't find it's hard for me to find the time. So I do podcasts. I always have a podcast or a sermon playing in the background when I'm doing other things, when I'm at work or cleaning the house, cooking, what have you. So I think it's 2 point. It's twofold. Like you said, it's doing the work before, making sure you are that woman that you making sure you are that wife that you want to be beforehand. Um, and then also preparing yourself for who you want to be, or I mean, who you want to be with, and identifying that. So, and that's where I think therapy came in. What do you want to accept? What don't you want to accept? What kind of man would make you happy? What kind of man furthers your purpose? That sort of thing. And that takes a lot of self reflection and a lot of deep digging that comes. I've only found it to be efficient enough in therapy. So, all that great points. Next question is do you do anything to position yourself or make yourself available to someone? How do you with the neon light sign above? I'm available.
We gonna let you go first, Marian.
No, I was gonna be like, and this is one I definitely can't go first on because I be in the house. Me and this is something I don't have an answer for. I know what people suggest, but if we talking about personal experiences, I'm praying right now that the Lord drop them on my porch because I be in the house. And I don't recommend that though. I don't recommend that. Let me put that out there. It's just honesty.
Live your best life. Like travel, get out, travel. Everybody talk about the grocery store, but right now my groceries are being delivered. So I'm not in the grocery store streets. I think, when you have an opportunity, now this is huge. This is something I had to work on because a lot of times as single moms, we just be going to take a nap sometimes, right? Like sometimes when we don't have them kids or we not working or we just want to take a nap. But if you have an invitation to go somewhere, go. Don't make an excuse. Go. I don't care if it's going for a walk. Go for that walk. I don't care if you are. I know sometimes I get asked to go places with my married friends. I be like, hey, like I ain't trying to be the only go. Like you just never know. I think following your purpose will put you in rooms too. Like when you're following your purpose, you will be put in rooms and you will naturally be around people. That way as well. So I think sitting in the house is definitely not. We're gonna get you out the house, Marian. We're gonna get you out the house, sis. Um, Being in the house, he's not gonna fall, on a drone on your roof. So,
But the Lord works in miraculous way.
oh, okay. Well, if that's what the Lord told you, go for it. Now, if He
I
told
ain't say
you,
all that. I ain't say thus say the Lord. So,
but I think there's dating apps. I'm not against those. I'm not on them currently, but I'm not against those. That's a whole nother subject. If you want to talk about that, if you want to add that as a question, Marian, go ahead. Go ahead, sis. What? There are dating apps. I heard the Lord tell me the apps are not for me right now. So I'm trying to, just get out, be active. Yeah. Stay ready. Stay ready so you ain't gotta get ready, okay? What you think, Toya? How does one position themselves? And I think that's also in God's time, but how does one position themselves? What are your thoughts, Toya?
That's a good question. I mean, I was thinking as you were talking, I mean, you have to get out. And the Bible say to show yourself friendly. I mean, don't be all crazy and being out of control, but to be friendly, I'm very shy, so normally all the writing on the wall be like he liked me, and somebody be like, you don't think he like you, and I'm like, me, like as if I'm oblivious to it, and I really am. Like I really don't be paying attention sometimes. And so one of the things I'm gonna say is pay attention.
Stay woke.
Yeah, stay woke, don't be asleep. And I do travel a lot.
So when you're traveling, Toya, do you be seeing eye candy out in these streets? Because traveling is on my agenda for the year. So
Yes,
you let me
and
know. You
I
see eye
mean,
candy in these streets?
so yes, I see eye candy. And I travel for work and I travel for leisure. And
What
I
it
will
is it
say it's a lot of nurses that are traveling now. And some of them are single. So I've been having people put the plug in, I mean, I'm kid free. She in college. I mean, she's still here, but I'm not really tied down to that. But I will say sometimes just having a basic conversation. And see just in, hey, how are you? How you doing? How's your family? Just getting to see where their head is, and a basic conversation can let you know if even the qualities of a person just by a basic conversation. So hold on.
I wonder, I have a question because we've all mentioned, not to cut you off, Toya. Sorry. We've all mentioned like church and whatnot. And purity culture, that's a whole other conversation. But I feel like there I got to be careful with how I say this because this is live. But when I think about active singles ministries, active singles ministries and churches, most of my experience has been the women show up
Mm-hmm.
and the men not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if you all know of a like if you all have heard of or seen, and I'm not saying you go to church to look for a man. That's not what I'm saying. But when I think of community and fellowship and like-mindedness, do you all know of any like good singles ministries, or like have you been a part of any good singles ministries at churches that is well versed, not just women?
Can I tell you something funny?
Yes.
I've been in church my whole life, and I've never dated anyone that I worship with.
Mm.
Um, and my theory, so I was a teen mom, and when Marian was talking about shame and things like that, I experienced it. So I definitely know, because the saints, they're Christians, but they become people minded when it comes to different situations in church, and when they're talking amongst their peers, they forget that they're Christ like and they become people like. And and I've had people in the church that like me, but I'm like, I'm not dating nobody that come here that I worship with. And I've always um dated others, and I one of the requirements that I do have is that you have to have a form of God, because I've been in the church my whole life. So I need to know that you're able to pray. If I need you to pray for me, I need to know that you can call out to God and you know who he is, and I'm not, we can build upon that, but I have to know that you have some type of foundation for yourself, because I believe when you bring them into church and you try to make them love God, it don't work. And so I don't want to make you love God. I want you to already love him. So in every church ministry that I know that it's the same thing. It's always all the women show up. And I guess the men be at the football games. And I do want to say too, I go to sport events. You know what
Oh,
I'm
the
saying?
gym too. I forgot about that.
You
I've
know
been
what
going
I'm
to the
saying?
gym
You be
like
at gym. I go to football games, NBA games, NFL games. Like I'm in the arena with them. Like you know what I'm saying? We gonna all watch the game. I am well versed. I can talk to you about any sport. And I think men like that when you can, talk to them more than just when you can relate to them on that level. So sometimes you gotta think outside of the box to, even spark their interest sometimes. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to say.
you're right, Toya. I forgot I've been going to the gym. And
Yeah, you been working out.
the me
I don't
going to
think
the
they not
gym,
looking at you on that treadmill. They looking.
you know. You but no, listen, this goes back to purpose, right? This goes back to my vision. One of my core values is health and wellness, which put me on the whole gym path, which put me on the whole walking path. I'm going to the gym for me, but once again, that's aligned to purpose. You know what I mean? Like when you write out and map out the vision for your life and you actively take steps towards doing the work, right? Like me going to the gym is a part of doing the work, right? When you actively do the work, I think about Ruth and Boaz. Ruth was found doing the work. She was found doing the work. I think a lot of people miss that. Proverbs 31, me and my sister have been decomposing that text. Everybody, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman, but when you really decompose that, it really talks about and it sets you on the track to really be a Proverbs 31 woman when you take those scriptures, scripture by scripture by scripture. Shout out to Tramika for telling us about becoming the woman God wants me to be. I recommend every single mom check that devotional out. It will get you together. Hey Tiffany, good evening. Hey girl. But yeah, Toya, like, yes, getting active, like, but I think it goes back to purpose. It goes back to your vision for your life. It goes back to actively doing
And being intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it intentional. And I think a lot of people don't really, and Tamika kind of helped me with that word intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And just when you're doing it, make sure your motive for doing what you're doing. I do believe that God has to align you with the purpose, with the person that is meant for your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately that is why you're here.
Yep. Come on
And
now.
so even, whatever it is for whatever he has for you to do, it's someone that has to be, even as women, even with, dating, it's like if you have someone and people, want ministry, they want to be, a lot of people, especially some women have, I want to be a first lady. But, when you are living in that realm, you
Hey,
have to
Angie.
allow for space to come in and allow him to come in and do what he do and not be jealous and not have issues. So, if your purpose is for you to serve and you say you want to board this all men, your husband have to allow the freedom for you to flow in your purpose and know that you belong to him. And sometimes I think people misalign. And that causes a lot of friction sometimes with what you do, what's your purpose, and your marriage and your relationship. And people don't understand that because there come sacrifices when you have a purpose. And a lot of people don't know how to operate in that. And I think that's where the dysfunction and things come in at, because they don't understand it. And that's why I think it's important to pray and, ask God, is this the purpose, the person that you have to flow with me in that area? I mean, I'm older now. My daughter's older. I'm single. I did think someone, that I was going somewhere, but I realized that he couldn't go. He couldn't take me where God was taking me. And so I have to trust God to know that someone is coming that is going to be able to navigate me into that space. So I think that's a big one of the, key things.
Trust in the process is definitely key. I think more recently, I've learned that on a deeper level. Um, I learned it on a deeper level. There is good, there's great, and then there's God's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
There are good men, there are great men, and then there's the one that is God's absolute best for you. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we meet great men and they're not God's best, right? Like they may be at the mountain, but they're not on the dominion. They're not dominant. Like that's not where God, right? So we have to be mindful of the counterfeits um as well. So Toya, you own it, girl. Very accurate. All right, Marian, next question.
So, next question is, oh, so and we touched on this. Y'all like getting into my questions before I get there. Do you have a list for the kind of men that you want, and what are your non-negotiables?
That's the cheat code. I'm not giving out my cheat code on this here live on Facebook. That's gonna be streamed on YouTube.
All I have to say is Mike Todd preached about dating and relationships goals. And one of his messages was rip up your list.
I heard
Because,
that. I didn't
yeah.
see that specific episode. So give me a little glimpse because I'm gonna give a little tea on the list.
Okay, so he said, you be telling God you want them to be a certain size, certain color, certain height. You want, this. I want the business to be him to be a businessman, or I want him to be this, or I want him to be that. So you give God a whole list of what you want, but that may not be who God has for you.
Oh,
So
why not?
it may be somebody shorter,
I
what
know
I'm
God
saying, or it
gave me
might
my
be taller
desires.
because you're trying to get aligned with your purpose. You
The
looking,
list-
you got your list is based on what you want, but he may not be aligned with your purpose.
I got a list of needs and wants. Keep going though, because I'm gonna get into the tea later. Keep going, keep going.
Listen, listen, but when he said it on, I was like, oh, he can't be talking to me because I have a list. There are some things that you have to have
So,
in.
like, okay, Toya, we just talked about spirituality, right? Being a
Mhm.
core value, and I'm gonna even throw in finances, a sticky subject.
Right.
Um, so it's wrong to, is it wrong to have spirituality as a core value on that list? Is that wrong? How
I
you?
don't think any of it's wrong. I mean, I listened to him. I mean, he made some good points. I have a
Like I
list,
said, I mean,
I mean, and then I said, well, we could work on the looks. You know what I'm saying? Okay, God, if you don't give him any, not 6'5", I'm short. So I feel like I need somebody to hover over me. But I understand if you give me, but I attract midgets anyway, so it don't really matter. But they be like 5'9". I'll be like, why, Lord, why can't I get 6 feet? I asked you for 6. Why if he at 5'11 and a half? Like, why can't he just get the whole six? You know, so I think it's
Like
okay to have a
5'11" and a
list.
half.
But you know, 5'11" and a half. Like, why can't I get the whole six? That's all I ask you for, Lord. You know. But I think in the list, if you get somebody, okay, so let me tell you how I operate. So one of the things on my list is I'm like, I only want a man that got one child because I only have one child and I don't want to deal with somebody that have five baby mamas because I think that's unfair to me because I only have one baby daddy. You know, my child has one father, I have one kid. So that was on my list. But then I was like, you know, realistically, okay, you might get somebody with one. I'm older now. My man might come with grandkids at this stage. I mean, you know, my daughter 26. There, you know, so I might have somebody got some grand that's a papa. So I have to, you know, I'm just putting it out there. So I'm like, you know, I can't say it's a deal breaker because he has grandchildren. So I kind of try to, you know, be a little bit more conscious because he may be a great man. He may be a great provider. He may have everything else that I want, except he got grandkids. So, I mean, you got to have some negotiations or something going on in there, you know. But your core values, I don't believe that you should negotiate that. You know, your spirituality, your finances, because no, I don't want anyone broke. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you gotta financially, you
I
know, you
don't
ain't gotta
want
be a
no
millionaire,
stuff.
but I don't want you broke because if something happened to me and I can't work, I need to know you can take care of me and my house and the lifestyle that I want to live. So, you know what I'm saying? We can negotiate. I'm not saying, you know, like I said, you don't have to be rich, but you need to have some money. You have to have a job. You need some kind of investment, 401k, or something, some kind of retirement plan. I don't want you just starting a job a year ago because to me, that's instability at my age. So, you know, I just need to know you have some stability. And some people just jump into stuff and realize because he been working and he tell you he got a job and he make good money, but he only been on the job 6 months and you don't know that until you done got caught up and wrapped up and tangled up in it. And then it's like, oh, he not working. So now what? You know, and another thing I want to know, how is your relationship with your mom? Are your parents together? Have they been together? Are you only your mother raised you? Was she in the home? You know, just was your father there? Did he beat your mama? Because I need to know these things because you might want to lash out at me because that's you think that's normal, and then we got another problem. So you know, and people don't usually ask those type of questions, but when you get older, you get wiser. So I keep your list, girl, because I got mine. I'm just telling you what the preacher said, but I got my list, okay? I got my list.
What
That's
was the
not,
question, Marian? Just so I answer it accurately. What was the question? Because Toya got me cracking up over here.
the
What was the
question
question?
was, wait, I done lost the question because I'm cracking up too. Um, oh yeah, do you have a list for the kind of man that you want, and what are your non-negotiables? And before you answer, I just want to say, you got to stamp that list with "Nevertheless, Lord, Your will, not my will," and keep it at that. This is what I would like. And I believe that when I put your name on it, you give me the desires of my heart when I delight myself in you.
Mhm.
So, but nevertheless, because you know
But you
better
do
than
know
I.
God has a sense of humor. You do know he does things because he has a sense of
I be
humor.
like, look, I be like, Abba, God, Daddy, listen, can we talk?
Can we
It's a couple
talk?
things that would not be funny.
Right.
I'm gonna leave it at that. That's yeah, that's not public conversation. But there's a couple things that would not be funny.
Right.
Go ahead, Ebony.
So I'm not going to get because y'all know. So let me just say this real quick. People be watching. People act like they don't be watching, but they be watching this stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some things repeated to me that I've said on a couple, things that I've been invited to speak on. So I'm going to be very transparent, but I'm going to be mindful of that. So let me say this. Do I have a list? So I am a visual person. So I write things down. Therefore, there is a list, but the list for me was for me to like really visually see the things and write it out as I think about my desires and what I want. Of course, that is, you're right, Marian. All jokes aside, I always say, Lord, align my desires to yours. Let your will be done, not mine, and things of that sort. But I believe also in the power of words. So as I'm praying every morning, I'm praying over my future spouse. Lord, I thank you that he is a spiritual leader of my household. I thank you that he is financially stable. I thank you that he is emotionally intelligent. I thank you that he is family oriented and he puts my, you know what I mean? So I use that as a declaration because words have power. Words, you manifest words. And so I think it's important to know, what you want and need, and declare it and decree it and manifest it. I will have, X, Y, and Z, whatever that characteristic or quality is, and we all need something different. Right? Like we all have different situations and we all need some. My future spouse, he got to be patient because I know me. My future spouse, I have a lot I do. I'm involved in some things. So, I think about once again how that man is going to complement me, my children, my family. So I do decree and declare things over him. I'm praying for him right now already. And that's aligned to my desires that's written down on that list, right? I don't pray in the negative. Don't let them, don't. I pray in the positive and decree and manifesting what I desire to attract. So as far as the list, there are some things, but I will say my best friend, January 11th, I wrote it down literally in my journal. She had me go through because we had a conversation about salaries and incomes, and that being a factor, and like what were my thoughts on that, and my desires for a significant other. And so we had this conversation about, is it a want or is it a need? Right? Like it's a difference of me saying I want to date someone that's the same height as me or taller. And then it's a difference in saying I want to date someone that's 6'5", right? Like he may be like Toya said, 6'2", 5'11". I'm 5'7". What if he's 5'9", right? Like, God, like, so you have to think like what's a want and what's a need. A need is you have to have a spiritual relationship with God. You have to, like, there are certain things that I absolutely need in my future spouse. But then I know that there are some things that I want too, right? So yeah, that's my answer as far as that list question. And it's changed, it's evolved too. Like I like after this last situation, I was like, oh, I ain't even think about that one, like I ain't even think about that. Like that's something important, but now I'm decreeing it, now I'm manifesting, now I'm speaking it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I want to touch on that height because I'm short, but I got audacity. So I prefer them tall, but and ain't nobody. I prefer them tall, but the tall one's the one that cut up the most. I'm waiting for somebody to prove me wrong though. But yeah, it's the same thing. I'm more so. I don't journal, or I'm not the person that write things down. It's all up here, which is kind of a bad habit sometimes. But I do pray for certain things in the morning, and like Ebony said, it's always in the positive, always decreeing things over him. You know, big thing is mental health. If you don't think mental health is a thing and that therapy is a thing, you're probably not the one for me. Because we gonna see all the therapists, we gonna have check-ins and all the things. Because I've seen Ebony is very blessed to have a lot of friends who are married and seemingly healthy marriages. I don't have that around me at all. The marriages, especially the ones that are my age that I see, are anyways. But I also see what I don't want, and so I know what to pray for because I don't want to repeat the things. I've already done things in life where I've had the example right in front of me of what not to do, and I still followed it. So I don't want to do that in marriage. So something as simple as, Lord, I want somebody who likes to see me happy, who, because I've seen two different types of husbands. I've seen husbands who emotionally neglect their wives, and I've seen husbands who delight in their wife's smile. I want that one. So, things like that. The aesthetic is one thing. Aesthetically, there's only one thing that matters to me. I have my preferences, but whatever does say the Lord,
And
He
when
knows
I think about
me.
that list, I think it was Sierra or Russell Wilson. It was something I was watching with both of them. I think it was, he made the comment and he said, "Are you the things you desire?"
Mm-hmm.
He said something along those lines. And so sometimes we may need to make a list for ourselves too, right? Like, and not just the checklist. I don't mean it like that, but like, as we look over these things, are we? And granted, sometimes I do believe that people complement one another too, right? So like, I may not have a certain skill set or quality that my future. I don't want to have all the same skill set and qualities, to be honest.
Mhm.
But those core things, right? Like, are we the same way we desire things, our future spouses desire things as well. That's what I'm saying. So
Yep.
they got lists too. Shoot. They got
Right.
lists too. All right, Marian.
Absolutely.
So, oh, okay. So, what is your child or your children's view of you dating, and what conversations have you had with them? So, I can start this one off
Yeah, start this one off.
because my son, oh Lord, he
Remind us of how old your son is again.
my son is 12 and a half, and he wants to be very, very involved in my dating. Every time he hears a deeper register on the other end of my phone, or thinks that I'm talking to him, who is that? What's his name? Do I know him? All types. He wants to know. It has been very few guys who have gotten the chance or the privilege for him to even be aware of, that they are a thing in my life, much less meet them. So yeah, that's been the thing. And he hates it. He hates that I try to protect him, because his thing is I'm trying to protect you. So but yeah, but we've talked about it. He's ready though, as protective as he is, he's also very ready for our family to blend with somebody else. He wants a man in this household, and I'm grateful for that, because it could be the other way with him. That's the other thing. Like, I wanted so bad to be married, but by the time he was like 5, because I wanted him to be able to grow a bond by the time he was this age, with my husband. So that ain't happened yet. But the fact that he is excited about the
Mhm.
possibility of, a stepfather, siblings, and that thing, those things, then that makes me very happy and very grateful. Um, the other thing is, what the conversation. So we talk about often, what it would look like having siblings, and what it would look like having another adult in this house, and how rules might go. I mean, we're not going to know until the person is here and we, discuss it together. But the expectations I would have of him, the things that he would be worried about, and we talk openly about it. So he's in more expectation. He operates in more expectation than I do. So he renews my faith often. So what you say, Toya? What Miss Tasia think?
Girl. So, one of the funniest things I always say, she'd be like, "Well, mom, I'm 26, so don't bring my brother home." So, that's her biggest thing. So she's like, if I can date him, then he shouldn't be dating you. So we just kind of laugh about it and joke about it. But because she is an adult and she has her own life, she wants me to be happy. She wants me to have someone, because I think sometimes she feel guilty, like my mom is by herself and I'm having a fun time. So, and then she said, well, if you was dating, or if you were, in a relationship, you wouldn't be so focused about everything I'm doing. Like, you'll kind of give me a little bit of leeway, like you're smothering me. And I'm laughing like, okay. But I don't know. I mean, she's okay with me dating. She wants me to date. She wants me to have someone. And it's funny because she's 26 and she always be like, you should have another baby. And I'm like, when does that stop? Like, you're an adult now. You're almost done with school. You can get married and have your own kids. Like, mama don't have to. And then I'm like, but I guess every child longs to have a sibling, no matter the age or whatever. They just long to have that. So, she'd be like, if you get married and have a baby, I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I'll help you. Look, you can still travel because I can take care of the baby because I'm an adult, So she still, but then she has them like, oh, be careful when you bring them home because I don't want them being crazy and I have to shoot them. Because in her mind, she still wants to be that protector. Like, I don't want them to hurt you. I want them to do right, but I want you to have somebody because I think she'll feel better. Like I said, if someone else is there, she'll feel like, well, someone is taking care of my mom, someone is making my mom happy, so I could, not be guilty about living my life in a sense. Even though she doesn't say that, that's how I feel. One thing that is big for me in dating is, as women, we always like my kids come first, and um, I want them to accept my kids, but women have a problem accepting the man's child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I want to love his children like he loved mine.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times that is never really talked about, and women don't really talk about it, and it's one sided. But, if you're going to get in a relationship and you're going to love somebody, like I said, if my husband got grandkids, I'm going to have to love them grandkids like they came from Tasia. You know what I'm saying? I got to let them know that, whatever my name's going to be, because they can't call me grandma. But whatever that name is, for my grandchildren, I want them to know, like, they're with open arms, I accept them. Because as a woman, you want to be comfortable with your children going with their father and know they're going to be safe. And I just feel like as a woman, I don't know how some women cannot embrace that or be one-sided when it comes to that, because I hear it. And I'm like, how could you be like how could you not love somebody that you claim that you love, but you can't love their bloodline? So that, is really big, and we don't talk about it as women. But we want the man to come in and be Prince Charming and take our kids and run them around the world and things like that. So I think that's really huge. But Tasia pretty cool on, me dating. I guess I'm the same way with her. We probably both the same. I want to know what the parent, like, I'm asking all the questions with her. So, and she does the same thing with me. Like, she want to know. But when she was younger, I didn't allow her to really know. And I was sharing this with Shamika that, I never let her in on my dating life as a child. But then I'm like, as a mother, did I show her what it feels like or what it looks like to see real love and to see healthy relationships with the guy? Because all of my dating was not unhealthy. It's just that the person wasn't for me. But I never gave her that opportunity. And sometimes I wonder in her dating with some of the choices that she make, like maybe because she never seen anyone. So she doesn't have an idea of who I should look for, what quality should I look for, because my mom never brought anyone around. So, and that's something big that I think about often. So, adult children and adult parents dating, yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
I love it. What? Repeat the question, Marian. I'm
So,
not
what
sure.
are your children's view of you dating, and what
That's
conversations have you had with them?
children's view. So my son is 11, so he's very aware, and he is eager. He's excited. He I feel like he's manifesting things he wants in my future spouse, right? Like the things that he desires, which is awesome. And so we have conversations. Um, like during our sometimes I check in with my son, and so like I'll say, oh, like what are some of the things, when mommy gets married, that you want? What are some of the things that you desire? Or like we may have an experience, and I'll ask him, like, what do you think if, how would this be different if someone else were with us? Just to like gauge his thought and mind on it. If he brings it up, I definitely will talk to him about it. They have not been around anyone since my last relationship, which was about 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, they haven't been around anyone, and that's really important to me. Like and that goes through like the phases of dating. Like, you don't get access to my children until X, Y, and Z, right? Like, is levels to this. I think, and I'm gonna ask you all this question in a minute, but I think you do have to be mindful I don't think you should keep someone from your children forever in a sense, because you want to see how they interact with your children. But you definitely want to vet them, vet them very well before that takes place, because that's important, especially me working with kids. You know, trauma impacts kids experience trauma in different ways, and that's one thing that I don't want to contribute to as it relates to trauma in my kids' life. So I'm very mindful of who's around them. I think it's also good, you know, to see how they interact with other men, even if you're not dating them. They're men, they have coaches, they have male teachers, like there's men around our kids, so I think it's good to see, you know, how are they interacting with other men. Are they listening, you know, how do they receive men? Because I don't care what anybody say, kids receive men and women differently. So being mindful of that. You know, this little 4-year old over here, she, you know, she's 4, so I don't know, like, clearly I'm not going to sit up in here and have a conversation with my 4-year old about it, but I do monitor how she interacts around men. Um, that's big for me to see, especially having a girl and a daughter. I'm not putting one on the pedestal over the other, but there are certain things that you monitor with your son and certain things that you monitor as it pertains to your daughter. So my son definitely excited. Mariah, I hope they ready for Mariah. Not is Mariah ready for them. I hope they ready for Mariah, because Mariah, that one right there, shooting that one right there. So yeah, good question.
Mhm. And I want to agree though with Toya with the whole, you know, because in this day and age, especially as mothers, I remember one time I met a guy and he was saying, I didn't know how you would feel about me having a son. Like, bro, I'm a whole mom. What you mean? Like, but you know, it's likely that we'll meet somebody with kids. You know,
Let me ask this:
and
do y'all have a preference? Do you
what,
care?
kids or no kids, or
Yeah.
kid for me, kids or no kids, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter because I see the upside on both sides. Like there's pros and cons on both sides. I just I
Toya already told
require.
us hers. Toya already said only one.
Well, you know, I now done added the grandkids. Now give me some credit here.
You did have the
You
great
know,
kid.
my thing is, as long as your kids are respectful
Yeah.
and they can respect me, I'm not coming to be their mother.
Mhm.
I'm just coming to be an addition to their life.
Mhm.
And as long as we can respect, I'm not
But you
here to
still
take
need a
you
mother
away.
figure though, Toya.
Yeah, I'm saying that like I'm gonna be an addition, but you know, kids be like, you
You
ain't
ain't
my
my
mom.
mama. I ain't trying to
Yeah,
be your
I
mama.
know. I'm not trying to be her. I'm just trying to be an addition to help navigate you through life and to
Mhm.
love you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not trying to take your dad away from you. I'm not trying to take nobody role from you. I'm
Mhm.
just an added bonus mother that's here to help you and to love on you, you know, and that's, but they have to be respectful because a lot of kids today don't have respect. And I'm not about to be dealing with nobody unruly children. So as long as we can be respectful, they are more than welcome to be a part of my life. And if they need some help with respect, I don't mind helping them. But me and you not going to argue about that. So either you can teach them or I can teach them, but we have to have some kind of common ground when it comes to that. And a lot of times the mother, you know, be telling like your mama, you know, especially little kids. So the mom sometimes put that in their head. So when they come over, they live with their mom. So they come over acting crazy. You know, to be honest, I'd rather have a man that's raising his children.
Mm.
That right
Mm.
there.
I'd
Ooh,
rather get a
custody.
man that is raising his children and we combine together
Mm.
because
Mhm.
women they just different. Women are different. And when they know that there's another woman involved, you start, I mean, I used to be guilty of that. I was toxic of that, you know, when I had my daughter young and her father, you know, I felt like I'm sitting here struggling and he over there taking care of somebody else and they making a family and they living, you know, and I'm struggling to take care of you by myself and they don't, you know, so I was guilty of that. So my daughter used to be like, I don't want to be over here because I'm like, you ain't got to stay over there. You can come home. That ain't your mama. So I know from personal experience how parents, how, women can be. And as I got older, I had to realize that's still her father. That's who he chose to love. And we need to co-parent. And so I took all of that anger out of what my life was going through and was like, you need to respect her because you at your father's house. And when you there, respects her. So I had to change that. But yeah, I'd rather get a man that's raising his kids by himself.
Thank you for your transparency, Toya. It's funny. I can't even, man, we're gonna have to talk offline, but it's funny that so I feel like I've attracted both. I feel like I have attracted men that just completely don't have kids, and I'm like, bro, I got two. One is 4, one is alike. So get on the bus and get off. I got two. So the question always comes up: will you have another one with men that don't have kids?
Yeah.
And then I feel as if I've more recently, I've met some single fathers as well, some amazing single fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear you all say, you would rather them, which single fathers is a real thing and they exist as well. A lot of times you don't hear about that though.
Right.
And I never really thought about like the desire to like have that, like the desire, like, okay, if he does have kids, let him have, full cut. I never even thought about that as a desire. And maybe because I'm an educator, I work around kids, I see the parenting plan, I see all of that in the school system. So I'm a little bit more flexible with that. And thank you for being transparent, Toya, about your experience and your journey navigating co-parenting. I always say for me, like whoever their dad end up with, like I would not be like, I'm be like, hey sis, can you do her hair? Do you braid? Can you make sure Isaiah does his push-ups? Like, that's a type of relationship I'm trying. They wouldn't even know I exist. Because I'm so low key and chill. Like, but that is important though, making sure that that the kids are safe and happy and loved and things of that sort. That's what's most important. So,
yeah. And that's for me, my requirement is healthy relationships, and it's hard to navigate because you can't control what another adult does. That's why I prefer the sole custody. But I ask a lot of questions about his relationship with the mother of his children. Like, where's that at? And how often do you see? First of all, are you doing what you need to be doing? Are you financially helping? Are you a good presence? That's a number one, because that's a non-starter right there. Like I dated somebody and he wasn't. I'm like, and he was like gun ho talking about marriage and stuff. Don't ask me nothing before you either need to figure out with her a regular visitation or with the courts, y'all need to get visitation. Like I didn't play when it came to his son. I didn't play more than he did about his own son, which is part of the reason why we not together now. But like I require a good father, because you can't be over here being stepdaddy of the year and not taking care of your own kids. I will not stand for it. So, and then, but the other thing is, what is your relationship with her? Because not every woman is just crazy just to be crazy. Not every woman just want their ex. Like what have you done? What have you told her? What did you do to her? Like, how have you communicated? How have you fed into whatever you deem as toxic? So I have those conversations, and it's just like, I reserve the right to just walk away, even if you didn't do nothing and you have a toxic situation. I don't have to sit there and
hold on one second. I have got to read what Danny Joe just said. Okay. I want an extra co-parent. I can't wait for my kid's dad to get a woman, because I'm going to be hitting sis up like, hey girl, you want your bonus kids to come over because they free. LOL. I hope the guy I date, myself and the mother of his kids, can also have the same relationship.
Same, sis. I'm right there with you. I'm right there. Come on now. Come on, blended family. Come on.
Yep. So.
Girl, can you pick them up from school? Can you take them to swimming today? Like, come on. Like, matter of fact, I'm gonna start praying for her too. Like, I'm going to start praying for. When we talk about manifesting, let me start praying for sis too. Like, Ebony is crazy. I'm for real. I'm gonna manifest that and pray for her too. Like, let's help me help you, sis. Like, Let's work this thing on out. That's the truth. I'm right there with you, Danny Toe.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
And back to piggyback on what Marian said, I'm sorry I cut you off
Mm-hmm.
about the relationship with the mother. Sometimes what you have to realize too, if the mother is acting crazy, it's not always because of him or what he did. She still got feelings. Because
Yeah.
my acting crazy about the next woman wasn't because of the woman. It was like, I still got feelings for this man. And he's moved on and I have not let go. So
Well, I feel
sometimes
like I'm sorry. I was gonna say I feel like that's always the first thing that they say. Oh, she still want me, but sometimes no, you still sleeping with her.
no,
Like,
no, no, but I'm not saying like that's true because you know what they say. But no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like sometimes, he may be like, I'm done with that. But
mhm.
as a woman, I'm just speaking from the woman. Sometimes for me, I still had feelings for Tase's father. So when he moved on, I hadn't moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
I'm doing it from the flip side. So my telling her like that ain't your mama stuff is because of my bitterness. Cause in my head I was like, I'm only gonna have one baby daddy. We gonna get married. I'm gonna do this the right way. And life threw me a curveball. So, my anger was towards and he'll be trying to come over and I'm a woman. So, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get him back. So he may not intentionally may have slept with her, but she done pushed herself on him. So you gotta look at it both
She
ways.
may
So
have, but
let me say
nah.
this. My biggest thing with that, and I feel like I'm the devil's advocate in all of this. I still love y'all though. But my biggest thing is how is he responding to it? Like
Exactly.
because I've seen so many different
Mhm.
situations with Marian made a comment of like making sure that he's involved. For me, that's not necessarily, and let me preface this because I've seen men try to be involved, but barriers have been in place which have prevented them to being involved. And
Mhm.
that's not gonna make me not date you or give you a chance. I think it's conditional and you have to look at the full spectrum of what's going on with someone's situation. And I say that from my own personal experience too. I keep that private for my kids' sake. I don't go into depth about that. But from my own, until they're old, and my thing is until they're old enough to share their story, I'm not going to share that story for them. But I from my own situation and observing things, there are so many variables that go into that. And he's not necessarily not a good father if he's not actively involved how we may perceive or how we may want him to be, because there may be barriers in place right now. And I'm not saying that we help him navigate those barriers, but to me, it's about like, okay, how are you navigating those barriers? What does that look like for you? And getting to know that individual and things of that sort. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, and I agree because I've had my thing, the disadvantage that some men will have with me is that I have had male friends who have fought tooth and nail in the courts for their kids and still to this day do not give up. But I also know like the state that I live in is pro mom, anti dad. It sucks in, especially for those good fathers. So it's a case by case basis. Like everything that I say is not set in stone. It's a conversation for sure. But my point is, as a single mom, I've seen single mothers who have not investigated enough, and it's resulted in a child being fatherless. When she came in, and it's just like, oh, I didn't know, and it's just like you ain't asked no questions. It's like so, but
I
it
think that's
definitely
where
is.
discernment comes into place too. I think you
Mhm,
you have to use discernment when you're dating, period.
absolutely. But one thing I did want to say though is that what is for one person might not be for another, and so I also reserve the right to walk away from dysfunction, even if it's not whether it's his fault or not. I have to make the decision whether I want to join into that, whether I want to invite that into my life. So,
Yep.
Absolutely.
mhm.
Okay, so we gonna open it up for questions. Like, do anyone that's watching want to ask us questions, or how are
I
we
had one more
navigating?
question, or do we need to? Are we pressed for time?
Well, it's 8:10.
Okay.
I don't know what time we were supposed to be
Is she
done, but
kicking us off?
No, she. That's why I had checked the thing. She ain't say nothing.
I was looking too.
No,
I
she
was like, I
said
ain't seen
no.
this. I think we good.
Oh, she said we good. Okay.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So that's why I was trying to like, let me see, throw it out there and see what happened. Okay, so we good. Okay.
Uh-huh. Well, let me ask
So
you this question real quick though.
yeah,
So
go
what
ahead.
has been because it is actually it goes into what we were talking about. Just one more about the kids is have you introduced your kids to anybody and when you did, what was your experience with that? And do you
Marian, you
have
go
any
first.
advice?
You go
Do you
first,
have
Marian.
any advice? Um my thing my son, the people who my son have met for the most part have been people who were there under like friendship or associates, like they met them under different circumstances and then it became a thing. But it's like I said, few and far between. One guy was like a childhood friend, and him and my son has his number. That's a man in his life that he can call, um, if he needs a guy to talk to. That's also somebody. If I said my baby needs shoes, he would cash at me the money right now. Like that's we didn't work out, but that's my friend. So, um, another one. So the last guy, it was a long distance thing, and so my son met him over the phone. I don't regret it. It didn't work out. I don't regret it. Especially because I got to see my son's what's it called? His reaction, which was really like he liked them, like for the most part, like they seemed to have like because I would be on speakerphone and my son would be able to, if he's around, oh, you talking to so and so, yeah, tell him I said hey or da da da, and they had cool interactions over the phone. Um, and when it was over, my son was like next, and so that was a cool experience. But it's like Ebony said, it's all about discernment. Does that mean that the next person that I meet will meet my son? Probably not. So, um, yeah, it's you have to play it by ear, and what you know, vet them like Ebony said, and see what you're comfortable with and what what the Lord gives you peace about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You get to go to you.
Latoya, because you smiling.
I know.
I was smiling at Ebony, like, hey, it's your turn. Um, Dating. So my daughter has met two people in 26 years of her life. Um, One person, me and him are still like best friends. I just feel like we were young and no, we were young and timing just was not right. Um, and life went on, but we are still cool. He's my daughter Facebook friend. She, we still joke around about what could have been, and that's his daughter because from the gate, my daughter was 2 when he came into my life, and he was phenomenal with her. He just was a great guy. And the next person was my ex. And like him and my daughter had a relationship. He had my daughter's phone number. They talked about stuff that I didn't even know. You know, he was texting her, so they had a relationship, and my daughter really liked him. And when the relationship ended, and the way that it ended, it affected my daughter because it affected me. And so her emotion was more so like, I hate seeing my mom cry about this. Sorry. So she wanted to protect me. But as her mother, I was trying to make the separation of this is my relationship. I need you to not to be so attached to it. But it was easier said than done. Like I said, because she is an adult. And I thought this was somebody that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. So I allowed him into that space. And this was somebody that she knew way before we were dating. So it wasn't like it was just my boyfriend. This is somebody that, because she played sports, he was a coach. So she knew a lot, just, in her arena, she knew him. So I felt it was comfortable. But I didn't give them each other phone number. They exchanged on their own. But I had to, help her make the separation that, life happens, but let mom deal with this because it's my relationship. I'm okay. It just didn't work out. But, she was very attached. Like but you crying and you're my mom. And so I was like, the next time, I have to make sure he's walking down the aisle before I bring him home because, she like, because if I see him and I'm like, so, and that was really touchy for me. So, and it was an eye opener because I was like, when she come home, I can't be sad today because I know it's going to affect her. So it just, heartbreak is real. And it just taught me that, how to navigate life in a sense. And, I mean, I'm the same way, she'd have had a heartbreak before and I'm like, well, where he at? I'm saying, what happened? Talk to me, but you just don't like to see your loved one hurt. So, you know, it's different when you have adult children than when they're younger. So, but
Mm.
that's about it. So she met two people in her lifetime.
So my kids, thank you for your transparency and vulnerability, Toya. My kids, like I said, they have not met anyone since my ex at all. My son, like he's 11, he's not he's smart. So, he has his speculations. Anytime I get up to go somewhere, he think I'm going on a date. That's not even the case. Like I'm just going to the store. Like I'm just going to the mall. But he has not. I forgot the question. I think it was have our kids met anybody? Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Do
Okay.
you have any advice for other
Oh,
moms?
advice. Okay. Advice is the vetting process. I think the vetting process, and I'm coming from the perspective of a parent of two, and so I have a son and a daughter. So, like I said, it impacts both of them differently. Whom I bring around. I think the vetting process is definitely key. As you're navigating dating in regards to bringing that person around your child. I think be observant too. If that person is not asking or including your kids in the conversation, why would you bring them around them? Like, like that, you have to be mindful as you're navigating that. And I think like talking to the person you're dating, like a lot of times as mom, we try to talk when the kids go to sleep, or we don't go too much in depth, but that's important too, like them knowing how you discipline them, hearing you going if you're going to events and whatnot. Another piece of advice is like, how do I say this? Because this is a whole mom talk. So, like, I am all pro mom and all of that stuff, but like, it's okay to leave your kids. Like, it is okay to like, your kids have to get used to like not being with you 24/7. Because when someone else comes into the picture and all they used to is being around you 24/7, and if you need to get a babysitter, like get a babysitter now, sis. Start. Even if you don't, I don't care if you're going on a date or not. Start. Pretend like go take yourself on a date for an hour, so that them kids know like it is okay for them to spend time away, because your husband is gonna want, or the person you're dating is gonna want time to you alone. I'm not saying abandon your kids. I am not saying that at all. Not even a little bit. But everyone wants the one-on-one and alone time. The same way our kids do. So my advice is um I definitely think prepare. So that's one way to prepare them, right? Like them getting used to yes. Yes, that's what my therapist said. So I'm going to read Danny's comment. I also use a neutral setting first. Like if we are out getting ice cream and mommy friend just so happens to be there and sits with us, something like that. I pay attention to how they interact with my kids and how my kids respond. Absolutely agree. I absolutely think the first time should not be in an intimate setting. I'm not the dating guru person, but I do not think it should be in an intimate setting. I do think it should be in a public place and setting and environment, a natural, neutral setting, like Danny said, a park, somewhere where it's a natural environment for your kids. I don't go to the jump park, right? Like something along those lines. But yeah, that's my advice. And don't introduce them to someone too soon. That's my advice too. Intentionally. I mean, things happen unintentionally, but if you and that person, in my opinion, are not at a solid foundational place, I would not be introducing the kids, because kids should not have to get used to false starts because of their parents. So that's my 2 cents.
And also make sure to we don't be ignoring them red flags when
Mm-hmm.
we single parents and dating because we want somebody
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I will say that if your kid is not feeling that person, because I feel like kids have a different intuition than adults.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be real transparent. Tramika, I see your questions and I'm away. I missed the question. Can it come
I
back
missed
up?
it too. Oh, there
What
you
if you keep them away, then fall in love and the kids end up not liking them? How would that impact? Okay, I was getting there. So kids have a different intuition, and I'm gonna explain that. So mom, and I'm gonna be very transparent right now. So my mom got married to my stepfather, and I did not like him. I just did not like him. I didn't know nothing about him. But when he came around, I did not like him. And my mother married him, and he wound up raping my sister and myself. So I couldn't tell my mom why I did not like him, but I knew something in me did not like him. And my mom lived with that. And she was like, I'm so sorry. Because when I tell you, like, I'm talking about, I was like, we about to fight him. I was going to burn him with chicken grease at 15. Like, oh, it was real. Like, I was like, you got to take one more step and I'm about to burn you with this grease. But it built a wedge between me, my mom, and my sibling because my mom chose love. She chose, I love this man. He doing this for me. Y'all just don't want me to have nobody. I'm getting older. Y'all living y'all life. And it backfired. And sometimes as you get older, I mean, I was 17 when it happened. I already had a baby. You know what I'm saying? So my mom looking at, oh, you got a baby, you're not a kid no more, or whatever. And my sister was younger than me, and we both talk about it, so I know she don't mind me sharing it. Um, we had to testify in court, and it was just a big thing. He went to jail for it, but my mom ignored it, and then she came to find out that he did the same things to his children after it all unraveled. So that's why I say, if your kid is saying like, mom, I just listen, because they may not know, and pray about it and ask God, what is it that my kid may see, or God help me, or show it to me, or God help me to be attentive, because it's not always they're going to show you the sign, but it could be something that a child feel that they can't explain. And it does affect the relationship, because I was mad at my mom for years, even going into adulthood. Like, you let this man do something, and I tried to tell you that he was crazy and he shouldn't have been here, and then you put him over me, and then we had a trauma that we had to heal from because of something that you chose, and you didn't listen. And so, I mean, I forgave her, of course, as years went on, but that was huge. So, and watch how your kids interact, and listen to them. And even if you see little red flags, because my mom was like, well, I kind of saw, this, but I just brushed it off. We cannot ignore red flags with our kids. And I think that directed how I actually started dating, because I never let my daughter meet anybody, because I didn't trust anybody around her. I'm like, I got a daughter, and I don't want nobody. And not that the guys would have done that, but I was just fearful of my past and didn't want it to travel. But I think a lot of times we get lonely and we just ignore them. So that was, one of my you know, one of my things. I could never see myself loving someone that my child or children don't like. Yeah, because you're going to have to pick a side. Eventually it's going to come to that. Do you love this man, or you love your kids? And then that is a whole nother ballpark. And some women, I've seen it, they love their man and don't care about them raggedy kids they be saying, I'm a different mama. My kid come first. So
And that's my thing, because people want to bring up biblical things like your spouse come first, according to the Bible. However, the way that I date, the children involved while we are dating need to come before both of us. I need to put your children before you and me, and you need to put my child before you and me. That's my requirement. Because then if I can trust you to do that for the amount of time while we are dating and engaged, then that means I can you're somebody I can trust to put first, because I know that you're going to put my child's needs in the appropriate spot once we are married.
I
That's
like
the way
that.
that's the way I've always seen it. And because like I said earlier, like I am privy to some toxic marriages, some marriages that I don't want to replicate. I'll put it that way. And one of those is one where the woman has put her husband before her children. And as her daughters are growing up, one is an adult, and I see the ramifications of not being first in their mother's life.
Kids rebel.
Mm-hmm.
They become very rebellious. And that's a whole nother topic, but they become very, I was that rebel. They become very rebellious. And when you teach them and you raise them in church and they defy and become opposite of everything you taught them, there is a reason. When kids start rebelling, there is something going on that they're fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
So,
definitely agree with you.
and me as a mom, my number one goal is to raise a child who does not have to heal from his childhood. We mess our kids up just from stuff we don't know anyway. We don't get it right. There's no perfect parent.
Right.
But I don't want my son to have to sit on a therapist's couch because of the decisions that I've made and the way that I treated him. So,
but give yourself grace as well.
yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Yeah. Absolutely.
My last piece of advice: get a background check. Don't nothing hurt. A background check does not hurt. Like they got to do background checks to work around kids in schools. Like you can do a background check. You can
And mental health. Check that mental health, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that they got a sound mind, because and people overlook mental health. I remember when I got pregnant with my daughter, my mom was like, is his mama crazy? Is his daddy crazy? And I was like, I don't know why you asking. She said, because you having a kid and you need to pray over that kid mental health now if they have mental health issues.
You ain't never
He
lied.
was like, you need to know what kind of, you done made a baby and you need to know running that bloodline because we need to curse it right now.
Yep.
And then she already was like, because we praying for her head. So she was making up, but that was her first question. What is his family mental health like?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, you 16, you
so
ain't thinking
true.
about that, but you want to know. So you got to make sure he ain't going to pop your neck because he mad about something. What's his temperament? Make him mad to see how he respond when he mad. I'm being for real. You better see what he like when he mad, because you don't want to make him mad and he, do something crazy. Make him mad.
One or two.
I don't ask for the checks. I do the checks. They don't even know. Before one, I'm doing the back. I didn't did background checks before date number one.
Right.
Marian, no.
No, absolutely. But when you talk about family health and history and all that, like, it's early. Like, that's the thing. Like, I used to, and maybe because I'm older now and I just don't care. But I used to be like, oh, I can't ask this. No, do you know the Lord? Do you believe in mental health? What traumas do you need to heal from?
Because we ain't got time. We ain't got time to play. And it's not even in an invasive way.
Yeah.
In a conversational way. But once again, I think Toya said you have to be that's a part of the vetting process. Having intentional conversations about certain things and knowing where it's, because I know people who lack that, man. You end up in something it's easy to get married. It's another thing to stay married. Okay.
Yep.
So that whole vetting process is definitely key. And you got to know what questions to ask. Man, if I would have asked some of the questions I'm asking now, I probably wouldn't be on this mom talk. Okay, because I wouldn't be a mom.
Okay.
Okay. So we would not have made it that far.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's funny, but yeah, and I know people in law enforcement.
Tamika gonna kick us off because it's 7:30. Maybe we're gonna have to talk about it next time. I want to talk about celibacy though, and the journey of abstinence and celibacy next time. Because let me tell you.
Let me say one thing about that.
Because when you have
kids, a great deterrent.
People think just because you have kids, like, oh, why you starting now? Huh? Why you think? Why you think you're starting now? But like, I think, like, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But and
I just say it's a great deterrent. It's a great deterrent of BS.
I had a beautiful experience or testimony of how a man comes in properly when a woman has a child or children. My father met my mother and she already had 2 children. He told her he didn't care. And my brother and sister went on my parents' first date. Wow. 6 months into the relationship, My father proposed to my mom and made sure to date my mom and siblings, and they got married. 3 months into the marriage, they asked my father if they could call him daddy, and they have been calling him daddy and have. I missed the last part. That is beautiful, Tiffany.
I
That
know one other couple like that. That was the man that was talking about he wanted to marry me but wasn't taking care of his own child. But that's what because JR met him. JR was very young. He was like 2 or 3. And JR met him because I had met his parents, his mom and stepdad, and they told me about that. And so and I don't regret.
Would you let JR? So let's say Marian, you was dating somebody long, let's say long distance, right? For I'm gonna say like 2 months. And it just didn't work out schedule wise, so you couldn't see the person in person. And
girl, now you know that's what happened with that last dude.
I said it, not you. I mean, you said it, not me. True, I said it also. You said it, not me. I was trying to be discreet. But listen, though, for real, would you let your child on that first date? Would you feel comfortable? No,
still? Because I still, even though I had very trusted eyes.
What if you didn't have a babysitter? That's real. What if you don't have a babysitter?
But if he was younger, I would have to pray about it, I guess, because actually when he was supposed to come, he said he was like, I booked this, and so that JR can come over, but I didn't know how you felt about it. And I was like, for as long as we've been talking, I would have. I said, but because the way things happen, and this is our first time meeting, like it not on the first time, I just couldn't let it happen. So that was where I had stood on that. But yeah, not the first time.
I think men like Tiffany father, like older men, they don't make them like that anymore. Like back in the day.
How old was he, Tiffany? We want to know.
Well, I actually know
her dad. So
yeah, and I actually know her personally. So she one of my friends, and she's about my age. So I'm a little bit older than her. So, and her siblings are way older than her.
Where they at? No, just like where they at?
But they don't make the men like that anymore.
1977. See.
See, that's what I'm saying. They don't make them like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Men back in the day.
Don't say that, Toya. Watch your words. Words have power.
You're right. Okay, I take that back.
I haven't seen it.
What I'm gonna say is, I have not seen men like my grandfather that take on other women children and raise them as their own. Don't make no separation. You don't know nothing about it. I was an adult before I realized that one of my aunts was not my grandfather. That just blew me away because I never seen a difference. And I'm not gonna say they don't make them, and they do have some men that have had great examples. But I feel like them ones that be taking them on, and that chivalry and just, things that we saw growing up, these men different today. I mean, all of them, even in their 40s, I'm like, when you going to grow up? Or when are you going to, they don't even know how to lead. When are you going to be the leader? When are you going to take your rightful place? Because you can't take your rightful place in your life. You can't take it in mine. They don't even know how to just be men. I mean, let's be honest about it. They don't know how to provide because they haven't. I'll tell people all the time, if you see a man driving my car, you let me know. Like, you need to talk to me. It's stolen. You know what I'm saying? Like, call the police. Something is wrong. Because that's what they do. These women that have these women have enabled them and let them ride the car, and they do work 10 jobs. And, a lot of us women have excelled in jobs and corporation and moved up on the corporate ladder, and they do make more money. But that doesn't mean that you overpower your man or make him feel less than, because God gave him that role for a reason. And and we as single women have to know that, because you have to realize, as single mothers, we've been the mother, we've been the provider, and we've been everything, and sometimes relinquishing some of that. No, but I'm saying, even we don't want to let it go. Family oriented and provider.
Yeah.
My mother always said my father enhanced the quality of her life. But that's how life is supposed to be. You know, you're supposed
to God designed it.
Yeah, but you're supposed to bring out the best in each other.
Yep.
Yep.
So
agreed. Absolutely.
So yeah, we're gonna have to pray for these men that the Lord, that they need some men classes or something.
Men classes.
Yeah, they need some
How
classes.
to prepare to be
I'm
a
not
husband.
gonna blame. I'm gonna neutralize this because it's men and women. It's men and
You
it's men
too.
and women.
But I'm gonna say the church need to step up on the preparation.
Ooh, she putting a call to action to the church.
I
Yes,
am
they
call
do.
action to the church. All these preparation to be a wife. Where's the preparation to be a husband classes and conferences and what have you?
So we talked about that too. Like I thank God for the people God has put in my life. I can't say because I talked to someone recently whom I absolutely love and adore, and she's a first lady, and I was like, it is very hard like dating in your 30s and trying to like the church only teaches us don't have sex until marriage. Actually I was talking to my auntie about this too. We had a really good conversation about this too. But I do think that there is work to be done and in a non-judgmental way too, right? Like in a real transparent way. Like think life is real, temptation is real, feelings are real, desires are real, right? Like let's not act like it does not happen. Like let's cut that out. But let's talk about yes, they do, Tiffany. Let's really talk about navigating dating. Let's talk about it in the church and don't just tell us don't have sex until marriage. Okay. And tell us, equip us with the tools and how to navigate that. And don't say we don't listen either, just because we got kids and we weren't married. So,
And explain why, because of the soul attachment. They didn't explain that. I would have had a lot of less soul ties and I would have understood the assignment of why not to do it before marriage had they told me.
So listen, Toya, and I'm gonna be very transparent. This most recent situation, that is why it ended. Because I explained I was not putting myself in a position to heal from another soul tie. But I had to understand it from that perspective. So you hit it on the nail. I'm not putting myself soul tie. Healthy soul ties are great with your husband, with the person God intended you to be with. They're amazing. But that last soul tie that I had, I worked too hard to heal from that, to put myself back in a position to have to heal from another one. It ain't worth it for some temporary that's the point that I'm at. And I'm not saying, I'm gonna be honest and just be transparent. I hope there's no kids around. Intimacy and intercourse, I'll say that in case it is. Intimacy and intercourse is an amazing, beautiful thing. It's amazing. It was designed for that purpose and that reason. But you're right. And that whole soul tie component. And once you get to that point, and some people become single moms for different reasons. But most of us have had to heal from certain things. And so that journey of healing, I take pride in it. It was not easy. It's difficult. It's ugly. It's nasty, but it's so necessary. So we have to be mindful of not, doing the same thing and making the same decisions is insanity, they say. So like what patterns are you breaking? And that was one of the patterns, removing that component to me navigating dating. Is it easy? No. No, it's not. I have to stick true to me, stick true to myself at this point and where I am in my life. So thank you, Toya. That whole soul tie, you hit a chord, you hit a thing, because I had to break it down. Like I had to think about why. Like why am I making this? Why have I made this decision to abstain? And it boiled down to the spiritual, yes, all of that. But like I am not putting myself in a position to heal from another unhealthy soul tie. I'm not. It's nasty. That journey and process. No.
And them spirits are real.
And not to be too spiritual, but like there's an anointing on my life. There's a calling on my life. There is purpose to my life. I ain't perfect, but I know better. So now it's time to do better. And that's one thing. I'm not going to negatively impact the anointing and the calling on my life. I can't risk it all. I can't risk it all. Been there, done that. Next. So yeah.
Any more questions from anybody in the audience? Anybody got any questions? We thank y'all for staying on and rocking with us. So, I actually had fun talking about dating. I think this was a good topic,
It's necessary.
I hope, y'all learned something, took something away, can tuck something in. you know, I hope we helped y'all navigate in this thing called life. So,
I
Mhm.
think the last thing is just mentioning that we will be following up. We are planning something very special behind the scenes for single moms everywhere. So if you are interested and would like to stay in touch, so you can subscribe to my website at momsinmotionnfp.org. Subscribe so that you are in tune with this special thing that we're planning for single moms everywhere, because we love you, we see you, we are you, and we want to do something special for you. So sign up, keep in touch. Anything else, ladies?
I think that's it.
I think that's
I think
it.
that's
Seek
it
God,
too.
and you will get all the desires of your heart. That's
Seek
all I'm
God first. And
Hmm.
this ain't even no Christian mom talk, but I mean, we once again
It's fact though.
we stick it true to us, and that's one of our core values. So
Yep.
y'all gonna get this oil.
That part right there. That part you can't leave it out if it's in you. It's in you.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
y'all have
All
fun.
right. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.